so I moved out to Seattle, and I worked at Nintendo for a couple of years.
So you left after 2 seasons at SNL, and then what year did you
I moved to
move to Seattle?
I moved to Seattle 2000. I want to say 2010. That sounds right.
Okay. And what were you working on? Because you weren't a translator, to be clear. You were localizing translated.
Yeah, the way
words
and different localization departments work differently, but the way Nintendo worked was you'd have a partner who was a translator, and you'd go back and forth, and it's not like a factory line where he gives you a bit of text and he goes, "Okay, here's this," and then you go, "Okay, it's translated." It's
right.
Okay. Here's this situation in the game. Here's what they're trying to convey. And I'm like, okay, what if we conveyed it this way? And then he goes back to the team and he's like, what if we conveyed it this way? And they were like, okay, because a lot of the people on the Japanese side speak English. It's just it's not about making like it grammatically make sense. It's about making it culturally make sense.
Right.
It also fits certain standards of what Nintendo wants to do as a business. And I know there's controversy around that. I was never involved in anything controversial, so I never had to deal with anything like that. But a lot of it, there's always this weird perception that localizers are like these social justice cowboys who are like going in and being like, I'm going to remove all the boobs. And that's not what it is. It's a lot of like Nintendo saying, I wonder if will this situation be a problem? We're trying to go for this rating, or our market is this age group. If they're making a game for 8 to 13-year-olds, even if it's going to be played by older people, they have certain standards they want, and they want you to look out for that.
They can't have face rubbing in it.
Yeah, they can't have face rubbing in it.
So to cite the controversial thing I think you were talking about earlier, or mentioned earlier,
And again, I wasn't there for that, and I wasn't part of that, so I don't...
Yeah.
But, it's this collaborative effort in the company, and, my job was to be like, okay, or the translator would be like, okay, this guy has, this character sounds really tough. The way he speaks makes him sound tough, and I was like, okay, so maybe he has a Brooklyn accent or something, or you know what I mean, he's sort of because again, it's not like, it'll be like a fantasy environment where someone has the equivalent of a mafia accent. And you're like, okay, well, how do I make that make sense to American, someone reading text where they automatically just read the way you're phrasing something, where they go, I understand who he is or she is,
right.
And that's a lot of fun, and it's creative, and it was a good job. It was a really fun job.
Well, so what were some of the games you worked on?
I worked on Kid Icarus Uprising for the 3DS, which had a lot of dialogue.
That's a pretty funny game too,
that
right?
was a lot of fun to work on. I was the second lead on that one. It was me and another writer, and then she had a translator and I had a translator. I worked on Mario Party 9, which was surprisingly fun to work on, because you get to just...
I'm sure, a lot of puns and stuff?
You come up with puns. I came up with Pizza Me Mario, which I will always be proud of.
Yeah, it's great.
And you just play Mario Party all day, which is kind of cool, too. It's like you and your translator being like, okay, how do we name this? Let's play this game for 30 minutes and figure it out.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun. I did, and at Nintendo, they'll have meetings where everyone pitches in. At Fallon, we call them gang rights, and it totally applies to the same. And we didn't have a name for it, but it was the same thing at Nintendo, where they're like, okay, here's 20 enemies in a Kirby game. What should we name them? And so they'll have a picture on a projector, and they have a whiteboard, and we're just writing out names. And it's a lot of fun, because it's you in a room just having fun, shouting out names, and you're naming characters in the Nintendo canon. I named a character in Skyward Sword. I named a character named Groose.
Oh yeah. I remember. I heard you on a podcast talking about it. That's people love that character. Right. At least you had that part.
So I have that little thing, just the name.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cool special thing to have. It's such a nice thing, and it's not it wasn't some brilliant moment where I was like, boys, Groose. It was just okay, here's what we know, and you have maybe 15 names on a board, and they're looking at it all right, I think this is the one. We'll see if Japan likes it. We'll see if legal can clear it.
Right.
Which is its own process.
Yeah.
There's also, sometimes, what I wasn't there for was being in the meetings for swear filters. That apparently is a lot of fun.
What do you mean? What's the process there?
It's just,
they're just
saying the worst shit you can think of to block.
Oh,
So
okay.
like
So like for like things that are online or
things,
something.
or like
Okay,
Animal
okay.
Crossing or whatever, just like things to block
Sure,
people
sure,
from
okay.
saying. So
That's funny.
I was never in those meetings, but apparently they were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was there about 2 years, and I think after Kid Icarus and after Mario Party, I was a little burnt out.
Hmm.
And it wasn't, and it's an awesome company to work for. Like, it's a Japanese company, but they really care about their employees.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I was just burnt out, and I was still doing stand up, and I just wanted to do something. I wanted to like stretch my legs a bit. And IGN offered me a job to be a comedy writer for them. They wanted funny videos about video games, and it was more money, and I didn't realize I'd be paying way more money to live in San Francisco. So I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, this will be great. And I did that. And so I went to San Francisco and I worked for IGN for about a year.